Hello guys, welcome to the new series where we test ourselves on a topic-based manner in each topic in EDEXCEL Biology. We're going to start with topic 5 today, and how this is going to work is that I'm going to show you a question. I'm going to pause for a little bit, but feel free to pause the video to solve the question on your own, to read it, and I'm going to give you a time for each question that you're supposed to not exceed. So it's going to be like a simulation of the real exam here. So what we're going to do is that you're going to pause the video, answer the question, and then I'm going to show you the perfect answer for this question. And then I'm going to explain what your thought process should be when you write this answer and why this was the answer for the question. We're going to do a variety of questions from all the subtopics of topic 5, and I tried to get questions from every type. So a bit of application, a bit of definitions, a bit of multiple choice, so that it simulates a real topic exam. Right, so without further ado, let's start. Let's warm up a little bit by doing some MCQs. This is the first question. Take your time to read it. Pause the video now. All right, so this question says, which statement describes the role of photosynthesis in the carbon cycle? So they want to know how photosynthesis is related to carbon. So I want you to underline the word photosynthesis here and carbon cycle. So we want to know the relationship between the two. How does photosynthesis help in maintaining the carbon cycle? The first statement, carbon dioxide is oxidized to form organic molecules. Is it oxidized? Is it oxidized? It does form organic molecules, which are glucose. Glucose is an organic molecule. So carbon dioxide is oxidized. Is it oxidized? No. We said oxidation is either the loss of electrons, the addition of an oxygen, or the loss of hydrogen. So carbon dioxide here, it is losing an oxygen and it is being added to an organic molecule, which is RUBP, to form GP. So this is not oxidation. Carbon dioxide is reduced to form organic molecules. So this sounds right. So carbon dioxide loses an oxygen. So it is reduced. It is not oxidized. Oxidation is when you gain an oxygen. So it is reduced. So the correct answer here is B, to form an organic molecule. Organic molecules are combusted to produce carbon dioxide? No. Photosynthesis does not produce carbon dioxide. It uses carbon dioxide. Organic molecules are decomposed. This is unrelated. So combusted and decomposed have nothing to do with photosynthesis. So the answer is B. Let's move on to the second question. Bit of a calculation question here. Pause the video now. All right. So this is the answer to this question, and we're going to go step by step into how we got this answer. So the question gave you the GPP, the gross primary productivity. And what does gross primary productivity mean? It means how much of the total sunlight has the plant gathered. So the plant, during one day, it gets a lot of sunlight from the sun. How much of this sunlight, what percentage of this sunlight was actually used by the plant for photosynthesis? This is gross primary productivity. So they have given you the gross primary productivity as 24,800 kilojoules per meter square per year. So the plant uses 24,800 kilojoules of energy for photosynthesis per year. So this energy, half of it or a fraction of it is used for the plant's own respiration. So the plant uses it for its own purposes. The second half is stored by the plant. And when this is stored, it is available for other animals to use. It is available for other animals to eat. So this energy can be passed on to the next, we call it the next trophic level. So of this 24,800, 65% was used in respiration. This is what the question says. So 65% of this is used in respiration. So the question is asking, calculate the energy transferred to the next trophic level. So what we want to find is 35% of this, because 65 was used for the plant's own good. 35 is available to the next trophic level, or is transferred to the next trophic level. So you have two ways of doing this. Either find out how much 65% of this is and subtract it from this, which is what I did here. So GPP is 24,800. 65% of 24,800 is 0.65 times 24800. And then the answer is 16,120. So this 16,120 is the energy used in respiration by the plant. Still not yet transferred to the next trophic level. So what is transferred to the next trophic level? 24,800 minus this amount of energy. So we will get 8,680. This is the amount that is stored by the plant and is available for the next trophic level. All right, there's another way of doing this, which is directly getting 35% of this, and it will give you this answer. So this is 35% of 24,800. Right, hope that's clear. Let's go to the next question. All right, so pause the video now to read the question. All right, so the answer for this question is 6.89. But how did we get 6.89? So this is similar to the previous question, but it's a different format. So they gave you the gross productivity for both ecosystems. They give you the net productivity of one, but one is missing. So they want you to find the net productivity of the salt marsh, which is this one. So how do you find the net productivity? Net productivity is the same meaning as transfer to the next trophic level. So they want the same thing. So net productivity is the amount of energy which is available to the next trophic level. How do we find this? The formula for this is net productivity equals gross productivity minus respiratory loss. So gross productivity, which is the total amount of energy the plant has for photosynthesis, minus the amount of energy it used for its own purposes. So this will give us the amount of energy it can store and therefore give to the next trophic level. So gross productivity for salt marsh is 10.5. We subtract that from the respiratory loss. Now the respiratory loss is given as a percentage. It's not a number. It's not an energy. All right, so it's a percentage of the gross productivity. So we have to find how much that is in energy. So we want to find 34% of 10.5. So 34.3 divided by 100, which is 0.343, times 10.5 to find what percentage of the gross productivity is used in respiration. And that answer we subtracted from 10.5, which is the total gross productivity. And this will give us 6.89 grams per meter cube per meter square per day. So this is the net productivity. And always in the exam, if your value is very far from this, so it has to be, this tells you that your answer has to be from 0 till 10 or from 0 till 20. If you get something like 150 something, it does not make sense. Okay, so you should be alarmed that this is not an answer that makes sense. So this is a hint for you in the exam. All right, let's move on to the next question. Pause the video now and try to solve it on your own. All right, so this is the answer to this question, which will get you 3 marks. Take a bit, pause the video and read the answer carefully. Try to guess which are the points that get you the 3 marks and try to correct your own answer. So now let's break this down. So the question is asking about the relationship between the structure and function. So this type of questions is tricky because you need to first figure out what does the question actually want from me. Does it want me to speak about the granum? Does it want me to speak about photosynthesis? Does it want me to speak about the light-dependent reaction? Because this is what happens in the granum. And to understand the question, you have to highlight the keywords. So the keywords is relationship, structure and function of a granum for photosynthesis. So you need to talk about the relationship between the structure and function. So how the structure of a granum enables it to do its function during photosynthesis. So they want you to speak about the properties of the granum which enable it to be perfect for photosynthesis. The first thing that comes to mind when someone talks about granum and photosynthesis, granum is what? Granum is a stack of thylakoids. So you have the base unit of photosynthesis, which is a thylakoid, a single thylakoid, and many thylakoids stacked over each other is called a granum. So this whole thing is a granum. How is the structure of stacking thylakoids over each other helpful for photosynthesis? So you have to mention that a granum is made up of thylakoids stacked over each other. And then you have to talk about the function. This is the structure. Then you have to talk about the function. How does this enable the function to happen? This provides more surface area for photosynthesis to occur. If I keep every thylakoid on its own, they are going to be less efficient because the surface area of each thylakoid is low. But when you stack them upon each other, the surfaces become continuous, and this provides more surface area for photosynthesis to occur. So the way you would answer this increases the surface area available for the processes of photosynthesis to occur. So when you write the function surface area available, you will get a mark because you linked the structure with the function. Second, each thylakoid membrane contains chlorophyll. So in the thylakoid membrane, there is chlorophyll or photosystem. You can use these two interchangeably. Why? Because chlorophyll, a photosystem is nothing but chlorophyll mixed with proteins. We call this a photosystem. So whether you say chlorophyll or photosystem, it doesn't matter. You mean the same thing. So when you speak about the thylakoid membrane, what does it contain? Chlorophyll. And what does this chlorophyll do? It absorbs light. So you linked the structure of a chlorophyll, or structure of a granum, to a function. It contains chlorophyll, and this chlorophyll absorbs light. So when you mention absorb light, you will get the second mark. An electron is excited due to the energy from light and moves. Now I'm talking about function first. So an electron is excited. This is a function. This is what happens in photosynthesis from light and moves along an electron transport chain. So electron transport chain is the structure. There is an electron transport chain in the thylakoid membrane which allows an electron to move, to change energy levels. So the function is electron gets excited. The structure is the electron transport chain. So you linked the relationship between a structure and a function. So you mentioned 3 structures about the granum, and you mentioned 3 functions that are related to them, and therefore you get 3 marks. Hope that's clear. And the keywords, always use these keywords in photosynthesis answers. I'm going to highlight them. Surface area available, always. Thylakoid membrane is a keyword, you have to have it. Chlorophyll is a keyword. Electron transport chain, very important keyword. So these keywords have to be in every answer, in every one of your answers, right? So this next question is about photosynthesis. You can pause the video now and answer sub-question number 1. All right, so these are the answers. Molecule P is water, molecule Q is oxygen. So this is a fairly simple question. They drew the whole process of the light-dependent reaction in a flow chart. This is the actual reaction. Molecule P is coming into the reaction, so it's being used in the reaction. Molecule Q is coming out of the reaction, but is not being used in the light-independent reaction. So molecule Q is probably used for something else or released out of the plant. Whereas molecules R and S are used in the light-independent reaction. All right, so molecule P, you should ask yourself this question. What reactant or what molecule is used in the light-dependent reaction, is used up in the light-dependent reaction? So we know that the light-dependent reaction needs water. It does not need carbon dioxide yet. So carbon dioxide is needed by the light-independent reaction, not the light-dependent reaction. Light-dependent reaction requires only water. So this is the only thing that the light-dependent reaction requires. So molecule P should be quite easy. It is water. Molecule Q is coming out of the light-dependent reaction, but is not utilized in the light-independent reaction. So it does not continue in photosynthesis. It goes away. What is the only thing? So let's review the products of the light-dependent reaction. Number 1, ATP. Number 2, NADPH or reduced NADP. And number 3, oxygen. ATP and reduced NADP both go to the light-independent reaction. Therefore, molecule Q has to be oxygen because it's released and it's not used in the light-independent reaction. Fairly straightforward. And the next question is asking you to name molecules R and S. So what could molecules R and S be? The first option, ADP and oxidized NADP. Oxidized NADP, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as oxidized NADP. And why would ADP be released from the light-dependent reaction or be a product of light-dependent reaction? So this is wrong. ADP and reduced NADP. Okay, we know what reduced NADP is. It's one of the products, but ADP would not be one of these products. It has to be ATP, the one with the energy. Right, so the next one is ATP and oxidized NADP. Again, oxidized NADP is nothing. There's no such thing in biology. ATP and reduced NADP. So the answer is D, ATP and reduced NADP. These are the two products of the light-dependent reaction that carry on to the light-independent reaction. All right, so this is the next question. Pause the video and try to solve it. All right, so this question is asking, so basically it has a big paragraph here talking about human influence on the climate. So this is a climate change question. The real question begins here. Explain why anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases are affecting the climate. So anthropogenic means human caused. Anthropology is the study of people. So anthropogenic means caused by humans. So they want you to link human caused emissions of greenhouse gases specifically and link them with climate change. Right? So this is a 3-mark question. So let's be careful. Human activity, such as the burning of fossil fuels, produces carbon dioxide or methane. So here, the first thing we need to do is actually mention an anthropogenic emission. One of them, deforestation, burning of fossil fuels, factories, cars. So we have to mention one cause of anthropogenic emissions. So I mentioned the burning of fossil fuels. All right, burning of fossil fuels. What does it do? It produces greenhouse gases. So you have to mention a greenhouse gas. Notice that the question here is very generic. The question here does not mention a specific greenhouse gas, and it doesn't mention a specific activity. So you have to do that for them. They expect you to do that. Burning of fossil fuels produces carbon dioxide or methane. You can pick one, any greenhouse gas. I picked carbon dioxide. An increase in the burning of fossil fuels increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere absorbs more heat. So what happens? The first thing we do is explain that the activity causes an increase in the amount of carbon dioxide over time. And then this increase in the amount of carbon dioxide traps heat inside the earth. So heat comes from sunlight, and usually when carbon dioxide is in the right amount, it reflects back from the surface and exits the earth, leaves the earth. Therefore, the heat on the earth is always balanced. But when you increase the amount of emissions of carbon dioxide actually absorbs the infrared radiation. So this is the key word here, absorbs infrared radiation. So when it absorbs all this heat, infrared radiation is basically heat waves. So when it absorbs all this heat, it doesn't allow it to exit the earth, it makes it remain in the atmosphere. So therefore not allowing it to leave the earth. And this whole concept is called the greenhouse theory. So this is the concept that greenhouse gases, the more they are, the more earth becomes hotter and hotter. Global warming increases. So you have to mention at the end what happens when greenhouse gas emissions increase. What happens to the climate? It becomes hotter, increases. All right, so I said the Earth's climate increases due to the trapped heat. And this will get you the 3 marks. So if you mentioned one activity, you get a mark. If you mention one greenhouse gas, you get a mark. And when you mention that over time the Earth's climate increases, when you mention the relationship between greenhouse gases increasing and the effect on the climate, which is an increase in temperature, you get a mark. Okay, pause the video now and try to get this question. It's a 3-mark question, so do not spend more than 5 minutes on this question. All right, so this question is about, they're asking you to explain how 2 species of African elephant. So they are asking you to explain how a new species is formed from a common ancestor. So you have to understand this question. What does it need? It needs you to explain how a new species is formed. This is called speciation. All right, and this has to do with natural selection. So how natural selection causes a new species to form. You have to explain that. So let's read the answer. The development of a new species starts by geographical isolation. So this is the beginning of the development of the two species. They should not be able to reproduce with each other. So let's say we have a certain island and it had a lot of elephants inside of it. Because of some natural disaster or an earthquake or something, the island was split in half and now it became two separate islands. This is geographical isolation. The two elephants have been isolated from each other. And now this group of elephants cannot reproduce with this group of elephants. So this is what the answer says. After they are separated, they are unable to mate with each other anymore. This is called, you can say another statement to say this is reduced gene flow. So the genes become separated because there is no mixing. This group of elephants does not mix with this group of elephants, does not mate with them. So what happens then? Suppose this is a new environment for the elephants. This island is a new environment for the elephant. So the pressures or the environment or the nature in this island is different from the nature in this island. Let's say the climate or the temperature in this place was more than this place. So this place would have a different selection pressure. This is what I mentioned here. A new selection pressure. What does selection pressure mean? It means that there was a change in the environment, which means nature has changed the environment on these people, on these elephants, and these elephants are forced to, this forces the fittest to survive. So the fittest elephants, for example, the ones that are more adapted to hot weather, are going to survive on this island, and the ones that cannot take the hot weather are going to die. So half of the elephants are going to die, and only the fittest will survive. The fittest compared to the selection pressure. So the selection pressure is heat. Who is going to be the fittest to take this heat? Anyone who cannot take this heat is going to die. And now only the fittest will reproduce with each other, meaning only the good genes will reproduce with each other. And this happens over generations. And after generations, you will only have elephants that can survive in the heat and that are totally different from the elephants here, which did not have the same selection pressure. So now I have a different species of elephant because it's been so many years, they can no longer reproduce with the original elephants. Now they can only reproduce with themselves. Even if you take this group of elephants and return them to this island, they will not be able to mate with the original elephants because their genes have changed so much, they have become a new species. So this is exactly what I explained here. The keywords are selection pressure, geographical isolation, and natural selection. All right. And you have to mention that over time, this leads to a new species of elephant. So here we linked the concept of speciation, geographical or allopatric isolation, and natural selection. So the concept of the species changing is called speciation. All right. The species changing is called speciation. The concept of selection pressures and only the fittest survive is called natural selection. And geographic isolation is the process by which they get geographically away from each other, like the earthquake. It's geographical isolation. All right, guys, I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, you can say them in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.